Hey, what is happening, everybody? So today I wanted to do something a little different. We're gonna go to Lowe's, but the only thing we're gonna talk about is what's on the clearance rack. So we're gonna go to a couple different Lowe's, so stay tuned. Let's get in there and take a look. I can see the clearance rack from here. Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna do my best. We're gonna walk past all of the beauties. I don't know if this qualifies as clearance, but they do have roses on the manager special, 50% off. Now, if they knew what you and I know, they know that they could just kind of trim these back and they're gonna bloom and they can sell them at full price. That's not part of the business model. What do they got here? 50% off roses, which is about where you're gonna be if they were on clearance, so I feel like it counts. They've got some, looks like double reds, an oldie but a goodie. Here we are, clearance. Where's the sun in y'all's face? This way. All right, Japanese maples. Got Japanese maples on clearance. Here is a 10-gallon Crimson Queen. It's too big for me to pick up. I'm gonna flip you around so you can see it. Hold on. Yes. Crimson Queen, Japanese maple, normally $149. Obviously it's gonna be 50% off based on the matrix. But I did thought that was something pretty cool that we could stop and take a look at. See these suckers right here? This is just a regular Acer palmatum, which has been grafted. The Crimson Queen has been grafted onto this rootstock. So if you can look right here, right on the other side of that tag, that is the graft scar. So anything below that that is growing from the stalk isn't the Japanese maple that we want. This is going to significantly outpace this Crimson Queen scion, which I think means, I'm going to say this on the internet, but I think it means son, like your child, scion, little brother, or something to that effect. They graft the scion onto the regular Acer palmatum, kind of that generic 20 to 30 foot Japanese maple. Grows quicker than the Crimson Queen. They graft it on there. Now anything from this bud scar up is going to be a Crimson Queen. Anything from this graft scar down is going to be an Acer palmatum. If we look really close here, we can see that this has been pruned several times. It's very easy to take care of. You just want to pop out your pruners and you just kind of want to trim these up and stay on top of it. I am not necessarily very worried about creating too much scar tissue down here because eventually it just kind of goes away. Ideally what we want to do is we want to create an environment where the top of this Crimson Queen is shading the bottom so the tree isn't going to have that desire to grow more leaves and things below the graft scar. And it's doing that right now because it's getting full sun. So I didn't think that was necessarily a horrible deal for a 10-gallon Crimson Queen. This is a little small, not very symmetrical. And this is the only one within clearance that's a Crimson Queen that they had, that lace leaf Japanese maple. Oh no, here's another one. This one's a little bit smaller, but more of a specimen. There's no tag, so we just have to guess. We have to guess on the price. Let me see if there's another one in here. Nope, it's another 10-gallon. And it looks like the reason these 10-gallon were so heavy is because this one is field potted. So you can see that that one's been balled and burlapped. Then it was put into a pot so then they can just put it anywhere. It's really hard to keep those root balls moist when they're just sitting out in the sun, unless you have them in a pot, unless you have them covered. Just adds a little bit more longevity to them. But see how this sucker, right? Oh, I left my pruners over here. So just again, I'm just gonna come through, I'm just gonna clean those off, right? I'm just gonna stay on top of that. It's easy. You can do it once a year. You don't have to go out there every week and trim off the suckers. But it is energy expenditure that you don't want. Here is maybe a blood good of some sort. It just says red Japanese maple, number 7. So I couldn't tell you what variety it is. Let's see if we can find one that's actually got a tag. Okay, so this is a purple ghost Monrovia 5-gallon for $158. So if you look at this guy here, isn't that pretty? I think it needs some help. I think it needs a good trim, but like I said, not in their business model. So for me, when I see things like this, that doesn't worry me because I've got some strong growth here, but I can see that this tissue right here has been desiccated. So again, I'm just gonna take my pruners and I'm just gonna prune right above where I see some healthy growth. And that is right about there, right above that bud. So that is the result. Sometimes you get some winter dieback on Japanese maples. I just like to go trim them up because it heals over a lot faster if you just go ahead and do that. Nature just relies on slowly but surely constricting that dead growth, and then eventually the wind or something will just kind of break it off and it'll heal the rest of the way. We're just kind of speeding up the process. Not to mention aesthetically, I just like to take off these little desiccated branches here. I also prune in that loose feng shui style. No branches crossing, no branches within 6 feet of or 6 inches of each other. That seems to work out really good, especially with blood-good Japanese maples. A well-pruned Crimson Queen, which is a lace leaf, what I call palmatum style versus dissectum. A really nice pruned, taken care of blood-good, breathtaking. You write songs about them. I'm very diligent when it comes to Japanese maples, just because they have so much potential. There's some emerald arborvitae in here. I like how on the tag now it says water me. Yeah, good idea, good idea. This one's not in horrible shape. Emerald arborvitae, I've seen once they start going downhill, they're kind of done. So it's important to water those. These are $57.98 at 50% off. So anything over, what is it? Anything over $15 is 50% off. Not a crazy amount of money. I just really wouldn't risk it on an emerald unless I don't see any brown and it's healthy. And the worst thing that you see is just them splaying out like this. You could correct that over time with just a zip tie, a loosely tied miracle tie, some twine, some biodegradable twine. Leave it loose, but make it to where it's not gonna get any worse. Looks a little silly when they're all splayed out, you know, and they're 20 years old. And now they're past the time where you really gotta worry about them. You still gotta water them in the heat, but you're not gonna randomly lose one, as long as you stay on top of bagworms and spider mites and that sort of stuff. When they're all splayed out, because it's just been like that for 10 years, splayed out, and they just keep growing. And then the inside doesn't necessarily fill in, so they just look like pitchforks. Little goofy, little goofy. Don't do it, don't do it. Put a piece of twine in there. Tie these together a little bit. Not enough to where they're not gonna kind of ebb and flow, build up some scar tissue, but just enough to where snow and ice load isn't gonna pull them apart. I've known some people that just do it in the weekend or just do it in the winter, so they'll go through with some black zip ties or something you can't see. They'll loosely pop them in there, and then in the spring, they come and they cut them out. All right, this is at 50% off. This is a Blue Point Juniper. I'm gonna pop it out here so you guys can take a look. This is a nice specimen. Now, I would actually love to have a couple of these discounted Blue Points, and it looks like this is in a 15-gallon pot, so it's not going to be cheap if I went and bought this at a retail mom and pop nursery. But let's look here. $119, which is, I have to admit, is a pretty decent price just at full retail. And a little bit of shearing, I could straighten this up. I gotta remember, it's still a baby, okay? Babies, probably one of my favorite things in the world is baby anything. I love baby rabbits, baby dogs, puppies, baby kittens. Not necessarily a cat person, but I love kittens. One of my favorite things to say is, she's about as cute as a basket of kittens. So I love kittens. That's just a baby. Babies look goofy. That's why we like them so much. That's a goofy baby. We're just gonna trim it up. We're gonna mold it in the image that we're looking for, okay? With junipers. Some things, it's a fight you're not willing to have, like when we did the 9-bark and elderberry last week. Sometimes there's certain plants that are just gonna do whatever they want because we don't have the energy to control them. Junipers are not that. Junipers are not that plant. They've got 3 of them in here. See, 2 over there and then 1 here. So, I mean, if you're walking out of here with 2 or 3 blue point junipers, basically for the same price as 1, oh, pretty good deal. These look like green giant arborvitae. No, it's a Leyland cypress. That doesn't look like a cypress at all. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about Leyland cypress for obvious reasons. Well, obvious to me. I hate them. So, I'm not going to perpetuate that for you guys. Oh, looky here. So we got some Candela purple speedwell. I like Veronica. I do. I would put Veronica right up there with how Salvia blooms. Kind of intermittent wisps here and there. You cut them back, you get another big flush. I do like Veronica, but I use a lot of Salvia more so I can lure Miley Cyrus into the yard, right? Because she likes to smoke all my Salvia. Some powwow white. Oh, well, these were $6.99. So on the matrix, $6.99 is going to take us between the $5 and $10 range. So these would be $4 a piece, and that's a really good deal. They're kind of trying to say, hey, we know you're planting in July. We know you're planting past the spring rains, so it's going to be a little extra work to keep these going. Obviously, I'm a big fan of beneficial fungus, beneficial bacteria. 2-year fertilizer tablets. I use the Agriform. Just stay on top of the water. Just don't let your soil dry out. Do the finger test. Boop. All right, powwow white, coneflower. An oldie but a goodie. Really, you know, they start looking a little ratty, but you can trim those. And then when I trim coneflower, I trim basically down to the next flower. That's how I do it. So the way they stay nice and clean. If I was at a customer's house, that's how I would do it. Now at my house, and it depends on their goals, at my house, I like to just leave them because I love having finches flying in and out of my flower beds all hours of the day. It's very entertaining for me. So I'm a big fan of just leaving them on. I have more purples than I have whites because purples look a little bit better. Those brown stems and seed heads don't stand out as much on the purple as they do on the white, but those are also $6.99, so those are $4 a piece. So just the combination of these 2 things, we have a really good beginning of a perennial mixed border there. You could even do Veronica up front, Echinacea in the back, and that combination of purple and white it's gonna pop. It's gonna pop. Don't worry about those 2 layers having any character because they're gonna have plenty. So I mean, they've got like 3 flats, and here's another flat of that Veronica down here, that Candela, and then we have some of that Nepeta cat's pajamas. I am never scared of buying a Nepeta or a catmint, however you want to say it, on the clearance rack, especially a PW. So this one is 12, so it's $7 a piece, but I guarantee, at least in my neck of the woods, if I walk up and say, hey, can we do these for $4 a piece? You have 3 flats, I'm gonna take all 3. I'm probably gonna give them the bite at $4 a piece. I've even had them counter offer and say, I'll give them for you for $2 a piece. Thank you very much for taking all of them. They need a good home. That's a really good deal here. And it looks like they have 2 flats of that. So a mixed border with some of this cat's pajamas. Now, cat's pajamas doesn't get huge, 18 inches. So I can work that in. It's drought tolerant. We want to make sure that we water it, but Cat's pajamas would be a really good combination for that Veronica because it blooms all year, but a little nondescript. They smell good. That leaf tissue smells good. When you crush it, smells like salvia, but with a little bit more mint to it. Then, boy, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about on this clearance rack. We haven't even gotten over there. I see some Monarda over there. We'll talk. Yeah, I do that to Monarda. Okay, so this is the Webmaster Spiderwort. I don't know a lot about this, I'm going to admit. I like Spiderwort. 24 inches, so 2 feet. 2 by 2, or is that spacing? That's spacing. Okay, so it says 18 inches, so 18 inches. I mean, yeah, so maybe 2 feet might be a little much if you're trying to create a border with them. Spiderwort, I feel like, are a very good individual plant. I've never really seen them planted in mass to a point where I'm going to fall in love with them. But that is the Spiderwort, and does really good in kind of part sun environments to just give you a little pop of color. And see, this one is ready to move on. It's ready to get a new home. I like that. So these ones are $15.98, which is going to make it 50% off. Oh no, yes, $15.98. We'll make those 50% off. They're like in a 2-gallon pot, and it looks like they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they have 16 of them. So that would be nice if you're trying to fill a spot. Maybe the beginning of a bed that's a little sunnier, and you have hostas behind it. Spiderwort would really like that. So there's some yarrow up here. We've seen this before, these pastel colored pots. Vintage red yarrow. New vintage red, opposed to the old vintage red, which would be a double entente, I believe. Okay. So only gets about 14, so more of a ground cover because it only gets 14 inches tall. Here's some blue zinger sedum. If anybody's got a rock garden that they want to play around with. Very drought tolerant, so this would work well with the catmint if you wanted to do something like that. And the echinacea. Always a good combo, sedum and the coneflower. Never a disappointment. Let's see, and it's good to zone 4. So anything below zone 4, you're on your own. Don't overwater sedum. You want to kill sedum, that's a good way to do it. Overwater it, but it is a very, very tough plant. You can see some of those garden tiles down below. There we go. You can see some of those garden tiles down below, which I've mentioned this in other videos, where really nice to cut and place in the joints of a large flagstone patio. It's $21.98 as it stands right now, at 50% off because we're on the clearance rack, right? All right. Do I have a woman?
A moment.
Oh, yeah. I have both of those things.
Well, that's good. What do you think of these around here? Do you think they would?
All right, I'm going offline for a second. Help a customer. All right. Okay, so just got done with a customer interaction. Just a guy that was going to ask me questions about grapes. So I'm going to tell you what I told him. I cheated. I went on the internet, and because you guys know, I toy with the idea of doing grapes because I like jams and jellies, of course, especially on a nice buttery biscuit. You know what I'm talking about. This is that Catawba grape, and it's normally $36.98 for this, mostly because it comes in a cheap, stupid plastic pot, and they've got some margin wrapped up in that. So it's going to be somewhere in the $18 range. We did a little research. They're good for our zone, but they are susceptible to some of the more common grape diseases, downy mildew, powdery mildew, that sort of stuff. So the U.S. Extension, or not, the Missouri Extension said this is a good grape for our area. It's a sweet grape used in sweet wines, but it is susceptible to those. So good pruning, good cleanliness, removing old fruit, removing old leaves. and a fungicide is going to give you a better option or a better opportunity to get some good grapes out of these. So good winter pruning is what, and I would have to go into some reference books and see what that actually entails. After we kind of looked it up and read a little bit, he decided not to get one. So I feel like I didn't sell it, but I wanted to properly represent the plant. So now that we're on this side, there's a couple things that are kind of cool, but a little scary. And we've talked about these on the channel before, but this is that Star Showers Virginia creeper. Okay, we have Virginia creeper just growing naturally on riverbanks and things like that here. So I want to say native or naturalized. We're not Virginia, but just because it says Virginia in the name doesn't mean that it's not, didn't find its way here through the millennia. But I think they're really pretty, that with that variegated splotches to the leaf. I think that's something a little new. Now the cool thing about Virginia creeper is great fall color. Around here, Virginia creeper is beautiful in the fall. Now that is in a Monrovia 1 gallon or trade 1 gallon, and it's $24.98, so $12.50 for that. But if you had a spot where you could maintain it, not let it go crazy and take over your whole life, that might be a good option. Very pretty, very pretty. Now here is, we're going to talk about Monarda. So I'm going to talk, or bee balm, great for pollinators. Like, they're buzzing all day long until it gets real hot in the summertime. And then everybody takes a break and then comes back closer to the evening when the temperatures have cooled down a little bit. But this is Pink Chanel. This is the upscale series. And if I remember, these are smaller. They're not 18 inches. Yeah, so wait, what are we looking? Zone height 20 to 22 inches. So I think they're going to hold up a little bit better, and I would like to see if this one is disease resistant. One of my big hang-ups with Monarda is the powdery mildew. Same thing with zinnias. What keeps that zinnia from being the perfect annual for me is it just gets powdery mildew. Let's see here. See, it says here under the care instructions that it prefers a rich soil, rich moist. I don't know. I feel like I kill Monarda because I water it too much and my soil is too rich. It's like trying to grow Russian sage or rosemary. I kind of use those in the same way, but I've aged out of Monarda. I've just had a lot of problems with Monarda in the past because I'm trying to pair them with things that can take more water, and I feel like they croak on me. Could be different with this Chanel, Pink Chanel. Here's another one, Pardon My Rose. All right, Pardon My Rose. And let's see, 18 or 14 to 18 inches tall, so a little smaller, this guy here. I would give it a shot. I would give it a shot. If I could get those for $4 a pot, I would probably give those a shot, especially at the hospital, because when I come in the morning, sometimes I see the irrigation is missing particular spots. It's not getting as much water as some of those other spots. You know, it's a darker color because it's more moist there. That might be a good option for that. So if you have hot spots and you need something that kind of stays small, that's in full sun, maybe Monarda would be a good option. And you could just kind of go out there with a cup of water in the morning and splash it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we are over into the vines here. Now, I don't know if you're as excited about this as me, but we're at our first lows. We still got one more to go. This is a climbing hydrangea in very good shape. Let's see here. And what is the price? $44.98. So if I'm paying $22 for a climbing hydrangea that size, full retail or full wholesale price is probably 50 or 60 bucks on something that size. The issue that we had at my old nursery where I used to work is we wouldn't sell them that often, but periodically we'd have somebody come in and ask for one. A contractor would come in and ask for them. So then all that needs to do is happen one time, and then all of a sudden we have to have one in stock at all times, right? That's how the higher ups thought about it. You couldn't really, you would just order one for them, basically, is what you would need to do. But they never died on me. They always stayed alive in the nursery. So a lot of times at the end of the year when I was bored and we were doing nothing but selling ice melt, I would bump them to a 10-gallon and just make my own little teepee and just grow them up in there. And so, you know, a lot of times we always had one. It might be 2 years old, right? Yeah, or at the nursery for 2 years. This is a Niobe clematis in a 5-gallon Monrovia. Doesn't look great. I probably wouldn't take a risk on this, guys. It's 84, so you're looking at $42, being it's going to be 50% off. Clematis is really hard to kill, but these past year, I've killed 4 of them. I think I'm planting them too close to the post over in Mrs. Sharon's yard, and they just do not have enough water retention there. So I'm losing them. Yeah, I think that's it. They've got some just regular Virginia creeper here in a 5-gallon pot for, I mean, I don't know why anyone would buy a Monrovia 5-gallon Virginia creeper when there's 1-gallon Monrovia Virginia creeper over there that are cooler looking. I would like to see how the fall color works on those. All right, okay, that's it. There's a Coreopsis over there that we didn't talk about, but you guys have seen me gush over Coreopsis before. There is some, and we didn't go far enough over here. Here's some Hearts of Gold Redbud. Hearts of Gold Redbud over here on this, in this clearance section for $59 even. And then a little 2-gallon, dry as a bone because it just fell out of the pot, 2-gallon coral bark Japanese maple. This one might be fun. It's $100. Probably not going to pay 50 bucks for this, guys. I'm going to be 100% honest. But this cute little Crimson Queen is $78. $78 for this little 2-gallon Crimson Queen. Might be fun to grow in a pot. $78 at 50% off. I'm not going to do the coral barks. I've had too many heartbreaking situations with coral bark. Their bark turns black, some sort of fungal disease, and they just end up looking really goofy. They never really die outright, but good way to kill a coral bark Japanese maple is water it too much, don't water it enough. So there's this like, give it too much sun, don't give it enough sun. You know, it's one of those morning sun, shielded from the hot afternoon. There's only a couple old coral bark specimens that I know that exist in our area. There's probably more. I just haven't been exposed to them before. So I wouldn't risk it. But we found a lot of really cool stuff over here. We found that Veronica. We found that powwow white echinacea. We got to see the Blue Point Junipers. Those seemed like a really good deal. Yeah. And that Monarda, if you're a Monarda fan, you can grow Monarda really well. Having your old-fashioned Monarda behind and kind of tear your way down with the Monarda, that might be really neat. Okay. All right. Well, this was a good trip. This is a good trip. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about over here. Anyway, I'm going to try my best to not talk about other plants. All right. Let's go to the next Lowe's. Here we are in Republic, Missouri. So we're just in Ozark, now we're in Republic, and we're gonna go attack the clearance rack. And we had great success with clearance last week. So we're gonna come again. I wanna see what is left. Maybe we find some beauties. Let's go. There's a guy over here FaceTiming somebody talking about plants. At first I thought he was a YouTuber. I'm like, oh damn, it's like the Highlander series, you know? Something happened in my stomach. Thought we were gonna have to do mortal battle. In this situation, probably like plant knowledge. There's a reason I've been around as long as I've been around. You wanna do a plant knowledge battle with my memory? I'll probably be dead in a week. All right, let's see what we can do over here on the clearance rack. This guy is very loud, so I don't know if we'll be able to pull this off or not. Okay, so got some maiden grass right here, which I'm not scared of maiden grass this far in July. I don't worry about getting maiden grass. This is Grazilla maiden grass in a black pot. Let's see here. So it's hardy to -20. So that were, well, -20 to -30. So it should be okay there. But there's just not a whole lot going on. The pot really isn't filled with product, and it's $17.98. So what I would say is if I could get these all for like $1, I'd give a shot. You know, I'd give it a shot. But I don't really have a whole lot of places where I'm gonna plant grass right now. Neighbors' yards are all full. My yard is full. See how I'm rationalizing it to you guys? Like, I want to get it, but I'm talking myself out of it. Here is some dianthus. All right, look how pretty this dianthus is. Still going. Rockin' Pink Magic. We are familiar with that one. We've seen that one before. This is $6.98. It's in a trade 1. -10 degrees. 18 to 24 inches high, 10 to 12 wide. You can kind of see that growth habit there. So $6.98 is going to take us to $4. Not necessarily a bad deal because these are perennial in my area. Just for a little pop of color, that's not bad at all. This whole table was full. You see that? This whole table was full last week when we were here. And that video did pretty good. Did pretty good. So maybe some locals got to see that. We're going to come out, take a look. Some annual vinca here, which looks really good. And it's $6.98 too, so for $4 a piece, you could do some annuals. Still got plenty of year left, because you know you're not going to lose your vinca until October, at least in my zone. So I don't necessarily think that's a horrible deal, and they've got enough. If you were a contractor and wanted to spruce an area up, you would get like a little 4-inch pot for $4. So a 1 gallon is a pretty good deal. Wish I had more access to funds. You know, working at a non-for-profit hospital, I wish I had more access to the funds, but it's probably good to keep me on a tight leash when it comes to buying plants. This is that salsa red coneflower. We've had discussions about that at length. It's hardy for some folks. Mine came back this year. Some other folks have had it come back for a couple years and then not. I don't know what that chirping sound is. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but it's annoying me. Kind of cute. Then we got some wine and spirit swagelia. Crimson pygmy barberry. We talked about that last week. Not a huge fan. Leading lady amethyst monarda or bee balm. That's pretty. That's pretty. That'll do. It's still a monarda. All right. We talked about those. Oh, I think it's a fire alarm. Somebody went out the emergency exit without having a key, most likely. All right. Well, I mean, we went over all this stuff last week, but if you're new, there was some wine and roses Wegelia, and I offered some advice when it came to that. And then we have 2 different types of 9-bark now. No, we had the same amount, summer wine and then that autumn. Oh, Amber Jubilee, that Amber Jubilee. And then what, Cotoneaster? Yep, some cotoneaster over here, which is not a bad, it's a very old shrub. I mean, they've been around since I was a kid, like used in landscaping since I was a kid. But yeah, 5 to 6 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide. Pretty fall color though. Cotoneaster is kind of known for that. Beautiful fall color. Oh man, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about these hardy hibiscus. Oh, look at the color on that flower. Give me a break. So pretty. Okay, I've got some energy left. I had an energy drink. I've been off Mountain Dew for like a month and a half now. I've lost 15 pounds just by getting rid of Mountain Dew. Nuts. But now whenever I have anything with caffeine in it, it makes me super jittery because my immunity isn't up on caffeine. So let's go. I've got some energy. So let's do one more Lowe's. As long as you stay with me, as long as you keep watching the video, I'll go to do another Lowe's. But if I see the views dip right now, then I'll know that's not something you want. So 3 Lowe's might be a little too much for you guys to handle. I don't know, we'll see, but we're gonna do an experiment. All right, just ran into a subscriber and we talked about Rudbeckia hirta and spirea, and she had a bunch of clearance stuff on her cart, and she was blaming me for all the clearance being gone from last week's video, but it wasn't my fault. I didn't buy it all this time. So anyway, I've got enough energy. I want to do one more Lowe's. I want to go to the big boy down on Primrose or in Springfield, Missouri. And if I've got enough energy, that's what we're going to do. Let's rock and roll. Look, these pots are chained. Who in the world could steal this pot? It is like solid concrete. It's like Lenny from Of Mice of Men is not going to come out here and steal these. I would still lock them up because we are in the Ozarks. There's a lot of Lennys around here. All right, we're here at the Primrose Lowe's in Springfield, Missouri. I'm real excited. This is the big boy. Usually they have a bunch of good clearance. They have a bunch of beautiful plants. We're not going to talk about those. Let's go to clearance. What? Why? Stuart Moore, you do not get distracted. You know why you're here. Here we are at the clearance section in the big boy. I'm excited. We're seeing a lot of annuals, but we could just talk pricing about where we're at annual wise. Why is my mic not on? Because I turned it off. I've had a fantastic amount of customer interactions today. Saturday is kind of like I've ran into a couple friends of mine from the landscape industry, and one guy who had no idea who I was, but he was listening to me film and wanted some advice, and then another subscriber, and it's just been a fun day. I have spent a lot of time outside. Maybe not an efficient use of my time, but I'm having a blast, and that's what it's all about. Because when I stop having fun, you'll see something new or not see me at all. That's kind of how I am in pretty much every aspect of my life. Okay, I'll tell you what, I mean, these coreopsis have been shoehorned in here, but that's a pretty decent sized coreopsis. Golden Glow coreopsis for $17.98. Not a horrible deal. I don't know if anybody's a fan of Creeping Charlie. I like to use them in water gardens. That's pretty much, falling over rocks in a waterfall or something like that. But these are $3.48. Which, what does that mean? What's the price if it's $3.48? Oh man, is this whole thing? This whole section is clearance. Oh, we're gonna have a good time here. So look at it. This whole aisle is clearance. I don't have a whole lot of clearance signs though, so we need to find one of those. Okay, so that makes it $2. So that little Creeping Charlie's $2. Here's the thing about Creeping Charlie. I only want you to buy one of these. And then just cut some new growth, dip it in root hormone, and then just propagate it yourself, right? It's not patented. You're not going to be in any trouble. Don't worry about it. Same thing with sedum. Don't buy a whole lot of sedum. Sedum, man, these are full. These are full. $7. So it's going to take us to 4. Look how much sedum. These are the healthiest sedum I've ever seen on a clearance rack. It's actually really impressive. I don't really have, maybe we have to go to their website to see what the variety is. Oh, lemon coral. Lemon coral. Oh, it's an annual. It says annual here. But that would be something nice if you could trim it before the first frost and then propagate it throughout the winter. Because sedum is super easy to do that with. Hey, look, the devil. 2-gallon English ivy. Because somebody is stupid enough to buy it. $49. Why would you pay to get your ass kicked? $50 for a 2-gallon. Man, Monrovias grow some plants. I don't know why they grow English ivy. For upstate New York? I don't know. Why would you bring that in? The worst plant you could possibly plant in your yard. English ivy. Congratulations. You are the winner, sir. You are the winner for the crappiest plant. All right. This almost took my arm off. This is a standard. This rose clearly wanted to be talked about. So this is a Grace and Grit pink. Normally 115, so 50% off, but very pretty. Look how big that is. So this is standing right next to me. So in the ground, maybe chest high to me. I'm 6 foot tall. That's a pretty plant. They have 2 of them also. Nice. Leyland cypress almost made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Austrian gold pine. Wow. A rare, it's a rare pine. Good through zone 4 through 8. Good to -30. And give me a height 30 by 15 feet. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Pretty. Probably went brown because it was too close to its brethren over here. What are we doing? Here's a columnar juniper, a 3-tier poodle. I'm gonna pop it up here so we can take a better look. Look at this guy. Are you serious? That is gorgeous. How do I get you to do? There we go. Look at that. Nothing wrong with it. I'll spin it around so you guys can see. It's absolutely flawless. It's in a 7-gallon squat. $300, so 50% off. Now you're looking at $150. So it's like 2 for 1, and they have 3 of them here. That's one of the hard things, like when you're going, when you're trying to look for structural elements in your landscape, a lot of the time the clearance rack is not the best place to go for those structural elements, like a 3-tier poodle. But it's a juniper. They're tough. You see what I mean? Even if I had a little bit of brown in one, I would still plant it. Speaking of structural elements, let's just go on a structural elements tangent, shall we? Look at this beautiful, what is it, a blue point? Yeah, look at this blue point juniper. Look how cute that guy is. It's in a Monrovia 10, like a squat 10, just like those junipers were, those 3-tier poodles. And it's $184. $184. Look at that. Beautiful element to apply. 12 feet tall, 8 feet wide, so it's going to look like a beautiful green Hershey's Kiss. in the winter. If you get some snow, it's your favorite evergreen. That's just how those work, because they have such a classy shape. You can work them into French country, right? You can work them into the English cottage formality. If you wanted to have a more formal landscape, it all works with the blue point juniper. I like the blue point juniper a lot. Here's an oak leaf holly. It's an old standby for us, but it's a zone 6, which we are zone 6 my area, but we dip into 5, and when we dip into 5, these defoliate. So $200. It's in a Monrovia 10 squat, and what's my height on here? 14 by 8, and very trimmable. Very trimmable. If you remember, we had a customer interaction a couple weeks ago, last time I was here, and the guy was asking me about that. Can I trim this? Absolutely. They actually start looking better when you trim them, I think, with hollies. This is kind of neat. Here's a standard fire chief. A standard fire chief. Look. So it's on a stick. I like them. I like the fire chief. It doesn't get very big, about 3 by 3. We have some of these at the hospital. One of my buddies who takes care of that front area, he used a lot of Fire Chief arborvitae with the purple wine and roses Weigela behind. And it works out really well because they can get, the Weigela have a tendency to get kind of wispy and leggy, but you can't really see them because they're behind. What you do is you get a little flavor of that purple color against this yellow reddish tips. So very cool use of color. But what was that? What did we talk about price on that one? My bad, hold on. So this is $168, but it's 50% off because it's on the clearance. Standard lilac. Oh, this is a really good lilac to have on a standard. It's the Miss Kim. So a little bit more resistant to powdery mildew. Don't really have a whole lot of issue with powdery mildew on, and we've been getting a lot of rain this year, and then the heat gets turned on, so a lot of humidity. I can barely stand upright. Beautiful, beautiful. Usually they're just like an old-fashioned lilac or dwarf Korean lilac we see on a standard quite often. So this is a Miss Kim. So don't trim your lilacs. We're done trimming lilacs, okay? If you have a lilac bush and you forgot to trim it, don't trim it. Trim it after it blooms next year, right? Because I say, me personally, I don't trim my lilacs past July 4th. If I haven't trimmed them yet, I'm not gonna. They're just gonna look scraggly for the rest of the year. Because I want to prune off the blooms. They bloom on old growth. Start setting their buds relatively early. So that's the way I treat the, you guys might do it a little different. I'm okay with that. But usually mine look really tight and bloom really good. And they look like a puffball from a Dr. Seuss movie or a Dr. Seuss book when they're blooming. And 11 by 8, so you need to prune it or it's just kind of going to take over the space. But okay. Here's some Salvia. Now remember, we're at the Primrose Lowe's in Springfield. You've got some pink Profusion Salvia. I'm a huge fan of pink Profusion. This one is $11.98, so it's going to be $7. But I'm telling you, these employees do not like to lose plants, even if they're on the clearance rack. So if you can find somebody that can make decisions, sometimes it's worth just asking them, can I have this for 4, right? It's a 1 gallon, you got black pots for 4. I understand this is a proven winner, you got more money in it, I get it. But I will take every single pink Profusion Salvia you have if you'll let me have them for 4. It might happen, it might happen. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, there's 11 of them. 12, 13, 14, 15. I mean, you could definitely make something happen with pink Profusion. Now, pink Profusion And this is one of the reasons I wanted to go to all the Lowe's that I normally go to, is so we can look at what's on the clearance rack. You could mix this pink Profusion with those Veronicas that we saw in Ozark and the white echinacea. We've got roses that are on clearance over here. So sometimes, I know everybody's not in the same situation that I'm in, where I have all of these Lowe's to choose from that are always very well stocked. You might not have the ability to just go to 3 Lowe's, but you know, if they're 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away, you could make an afternoon of it. I have a lot of faith in our clearance racks here because they bring in so much clearance. Oh look, the devil again. Thank God. Oh, and then remember those butterfly bush that we couldn't figure out if we're sterile or not on one of our other videos? They're on clearance now too. So it's $26.98. I don't worry about it in my area, but I know some people are sensitive about burning butterfly bush, warranted or not. And some trumpet vine, which I think is native here. I would have to look it up, but not something I want growing on my fence. Oh, and then what is this? Oh, more trumpet vine. Hey, here's something kind of neat. Gold flame spirea in a 1 gallon for $18.98. Oh, because it's got that word on the side. Yeah, it's a pretty spirea. Gold flame is one of my favorites. That and the candy corn series. But $18.98 is a little much. It's a little much, even at half price. I mean, at half price, it's kind of standard. It's kind of right where we need it to be for a 1 gallon anything. I think that if I'm paying full retail for something in a 1 gallon pot and I can get it somewhere around the $8 mark, then I'm pretty good. I'm happy with that. Obviously, I want more discount, but it is what it is. Cannas, plenty of cannas. Our cannas here, our hardy cannas that people have, are going ballistic right now. They are everywhere. And they put on a show. They do put on a show. All right, well, there's some citrus here. There's some olives. There's some limes there. Some pomegranates. I just don't know enough about them. I don't eat my food's food. Although I do like olives, like old school olives that still have the pit in them. You can eat them like popcorn. I do like those. Okay, well guys, I think that's it. My name is Stuart Moore. This is Landscape Rescue, and thank you for sticking up to the end of the video and letting me into your home to talk about plants.